Hello there. After a bit of a lull last week, things have seriously picked up this week with the announcement of the pre-patch release date and a bunch of new information on Delve's Mythic Plus and rewards. The big news, of course, was the announcement of the pre-patch release date, which, as I think most of the community had already successfully guessed, is to be July the 23rd for North America and July the 24th for Europe. The pre-patch will be bringing a ton of major changes, including the new warbands features, the ability of all our flying mounts to skyride, that's the new name for dragon riding, and reworked baseline talent trees. That said, we won't yet be able to play with the new hero talents, as they don't kick in until we reach level 71, which will only happen once the new main expansion releases next month. We will have to wait one extra week for the new pre-patch event Radiant Echoes, which isn't starting until July the 30th for North America and the 31st for the EU. There are still a few bits of key information that are outstanding, most notably exactly what will be available during the early access period that starts on August the 22nd. Blizzard have said that early access won't be offering an advantage over players with the delayed access, but they haven't really explained what restrictions are going to be in place to ensure that's the case. Hopefully we will get that information quite soon. Asking people to buy the early access without knowing exactly what's in it is, in my view, a bit of a big ask. Another announcement from Blizzard is that with the World Within pre-patch, the ability to transfer characters between different Battle.net accounts is going to be permanently removed. The option to transfer between different World of Warcraft accounts within the same Battle.net account is going to be retained, but that option will also be taking a temporary break for a few weeks. So if you have any characters that you might want to transfer, now is definitely the time to get that done. Anyways, on to the content updates, and in advance of this week's beta build, and Blizzard dropped a small update about how the open world content rewards will work. Basically, a lot of the bigger open world activities will be dropping what are known as pinnacle caches. The first two of these caches we open each week will, once Season 1 of the War Within starts, drop a piece of veteran track gear, similar to what we get from things like Dream Surges in Season 4. Prior to the start of Season 1, these will instead be dropping Adventurer track gear. In addition to that, the first 4 pinnacle chests that open will also award 100 coffer key fragments. Those 100 fragments can be combined to get a coffer key that will allow you to open the bonus chests in Bountiful Delves. What are Bountiful Delves? Well, Delves will have rotating bonuses, and the Bountiful bonus will mean that the Delve will have a bonus chest at the end with better rewards, and the keys are essentially going to be used to throttle access to those rewards. I personally have mixed feeling about this system, but one thing it is worth emphasising is that this is not gating access to the Delves themselves. You'll be able to spam the Delves if you really want to. It really is just a way to throttle access to those best rewards. Getting back to Blizzard's announcement, and they went on to say that this approach is part of their new philosophy to give us more choice in deciding what to do to get our rewards. So unlike Dragonflight, where we kinda had to do the weekly quest and the specified activities to get our rewards, the idea with this is that there are going to be more than 4 sources for the pinnacle chest, giving us more of a menu of options to select from to decide what we want to do to get the rewards. I definitely do like this idea. Having agency in what we choose to do is much better than that feeling that the game is telling us what to do, and hearing them describe it as a philosophy implies to me that we can expect to see more of this approach, which I think is definitely a good thing. Moving on to the Delves themselves, and Blizzard also shared a bunch of improvements directly addressing player feedback from the beta. This includes a buff to XP from Delves from leveling. Right from the start of Alpha, a very common thread of feedback has been that Delves didn't really feel like they would be worth using for leveling, so I think this is a very welcome change. Blizzard also announced a major tuning pass. While I personally found Delves to offer a moderate challenge on my Protection Paladin, albeit with a few outlier Delves that were obviously overtuned, I do know that some specialisations, especially those with low self-sustain, had been struggling a bit, so I think this is very welcome. More importantly, they also announced some major buffs to our companion in the Delves, Bran Bronzebeard, to try to make him a lot more impactful. Certainly when I was testing the Delves, Bran tended to feel like he wasn't doing very much. It was kind of like those raids in Shadowlands of BFA where there was a big lore character that would stand about making casting or attack animations during boss fights, while mostly just hitting like a bit of a wet noodle. Broadly speaking, the changes do seem very positive and go a long way to address my own observations when I was testing the Delves. I do still have some concerns about how the death counter in the key system will feel and be received by players in practice, but I still do think that the system has a lot of potential and does seem to be avoiding many of the design issues that plagued things like Island Expeditions or Torghast in the past. Having an option for solo or small group players who wish to push into harder content without the social pressures of pugging Mythic Raid or Mythic Plus could quite a major boost for a very underserved segment of the player base. Blizzard's responsiveness to feedback on the new Mythic Plus affixes has also continued this week with another round of tweaks. The new Ascendant affix, which summons orbs which can either buff us or our enemies, has had the number of orbs reduced from 20 to 10 in response to feedback about how overwhelming it could be. This is a major improvement, but I do still think that even 10 is too many for an affix that's been introduced at a Mythic Plus 2 level, and I'd also like to see the punishment for failure of 20% haste buffs to our enemies to be toned down to be more in line with the 2% buff that we get for succeeding. The other affix, Frenzied, has now been removed from testing and replaced with a new affix, Voidbound. This causes an extra NPC to spawn around every 75 seconds, which then casts a stacking buff on enemies until it's defeated. On being defeated, it gives us a 20% crit bonus for 20 seconds. Personally, I think this is a much more positive type of affix. It avoids much of the issues of Ascendant. Having to quickly switch to a specific target provides meaningful counterplay for both tanks and DPS without being overwhelming, and the bonus I suspect will also feel quite satisfying. We also got an update on the thorny subject of healing, with Blizzard announcing that they plan to reduce percentage based healing in favour of buffing hybrid and single target spot healing. Blizzard say that their goal is for this to feel pretty neutral as a change, shifting away from having very bursty damage to what they described as a more sustained healing profile. Now, I'm not a healing expert, but I do know that a lot of healers have been unhappy with the very bursty damage profile in Dragonflight, and as a tank, it has at times been a bit disheartening to see all or most of my DPS all die due to their healer being just overwhelmed, something that's been a bit of a theme in the early stages of pretty much every one of the Dragonflight seasons. So I do hope that this pans out well for us and Blizzard in practice. Finally, and there's something for the mount collectors with the announcement of new 6 and 12 month subscription rewards. The Charming Courier is a dragon riding owl mount similar to the mythic Farak mount and is available for anyone purchasing a 6 or 12 month subscription to World of Warcraft. Existing 6 and 12 month subscribers who are set to auto renew will also be getting the mount. This is a super cool looking mount and it's definitely worth considering this option if you're certain that you want to remain subbed for 6 months. But do keep in mind that Blizzard do usually maintain these offers for some time, so if you're on the fence about that, you can always stay until the War Within launches to see how it goes before committing to a longer sub. Well, that's all the news for this week. I'm certainly pretty excited about the pre-patch now that we know when it's coming, but what about you? Are you done with Season 4 and ready for something new, or do you think it's all coming too soon? Let me know in the comments down below. If you found this video interesting, then do let both me and the YouTube algorithm know by hitting the like icon. And if you want to support my channel, also hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. That way you'll get notified whenever a video goes live. Along with these weekly news updates, I'll be releasing a bunch of content previews and mini guides for the War Within that you won't want to miss. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.